Hello and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for October 6, 2011. Oh my goodness, a lot has happened here this week. Yesterday, the area I lived in was ravaged by the tail end of Hurricane Ophelia. It created unusually low temperatures for the season and a couple of beautiful rainbows, which I was actually lucky to photograph outside my front door. But we're still feeling the cold, but at least it's sunny out, and the temperature's going to go back up a little bit, so in the next few days, so I'm very happy about that. But, you know, there are a few sad events this week, and I wanted to discuss them in a happy way, you know, try to get people's blues away about them. Number one, this past Sunday, REM broke up. Now, you know, like a lot of people, I know REM essentially by their late 80s, early 90s hits, you know, The End of the World as They Know It, We Know It, actually, One I Love, and Losing My Religion and all that. And the last, honestly, that I ever really heard of REM in a big sense was Everybody Hurts around 1993. And, you know, they had been releasing albums, and luckily Michael Stipe and company decided to part ways in a very, you know, humane manner. Now, I know that the stereotypical rock star breakup usually involves a lot of fussing and legal battles. I mean, even the Beatles, even the Fab Four themselves broke up in a court, and that was kind of depressing, and they couldn't come together later on, no pun intended, as easily as they could have. But at least this opens the door in case REM want to make a comeback someday. They can, and there's no animosity, and there's no drama or personal difficulties between the members of the group. So I think the breakup went fairly well. And, you know, of course, like John Lennon said about the Beatles, there's plenty of old records if you want to reminisce. So REM fans out there, you know, worries, I guess. You know, apparently a lot of people assumed REM split up years ago. Anywho, yesterday I learned about two people passing. One is a person that probably a lot of you out there don't know, and you may know. A character actor named Charles Napier. He, the first time I ever saw Charles Napier was playing this gentleman named Adam, a kind of comic, countercultural, pseudo-countercultural character in an episode of the old Star Trek series called The Way to Eden. And he was actually singing in that. And of course, he was in the Blues Brothers, you know, a very famous movie. And for those of you who are fans of James L. Brooks or The Simpsons, he was the voice of Jay Sherman's boss, Duke Phillips, in The Critic, a show I always had a soft spot for. I know a lot of people didn't. It wasn't very popular, I guess. But I'll miss Charles Napier, you know. He had a distinctive voice, distinctive style, you know. I guess just somebody in my generation. But anyway, more importantly, a guy named Steve Jobs passed the other day, and he was the founder of Apple Computers, and he was only 56 years old and had cancer. Of course, there's nothing funny about that. Okay, awkward silence. You know, the computer age is something that I personally got into a little bit late, but my first exposure to computers of any kind, I actually have to thank Mr. Jobs for, because the first time I ever saw a computer was when I was 7 years old. It was 1987, actually. And it was an old Apple. Now, I don't know if you remember these types of Apples. I don't remember exactly what the model name was, but this computer had this enormous disk drive about that big, and the floppy disks were about that large. They were big black floppy disks, and they literally flopped. They were very thin. And the computer would have a green lettering on the screen, and you would hear all these blippy kind of sounds when you turned it on, and there'd be this sign saying, "1 moment, please." They were, by today's standards, unwieldily slow. I don't even think one of them could access 1 second of the internet. I don't know if they even measured hard drives in megabytes, let alone gigabytes at that time. The computers were also huge. They took up half a desk, And the only thing you could really do with them is use them as a typewriter. That was the only way in which they really functioned. And to think, within less than 20 years' time, I would be accessing an internet superhighway, going from one site like a giant library to the other in 2003, 2004, 2005, before the 20th anniversary of my original exposure to computers even happened on the information superhighway. And in addition to Bill Gates and Microsoft, I have Steve Jobs to thank for that directly for my first exposure to computers. So that's my little thought on Mr. Steve Jobs. So Charles Napier is dead, REM have broken up. That may not be such a bad thing. I don't know what the future might be. And RIP Steve Jobs. We'll keep the dream going. Maybe some of us will even make it better than you managed to. This is Andre's YouTube vlog for August 6th, signing out.